Welcome to the EPSA podcast. The EPSA podcast provides convenient access to information on various EPSA events and opportunities, plus topics from different pharmacy fields that can impact us, the pharmacy students. This podcast series seeks to bring education and awareness that pharmacy students and future pharmacists need to provide the best care. Join us as we fuel our passion for pharmacy, one conversation at a time. Prepare to learn more, be encouraged, and inspired.
Hello and welcome to the EPSA podcast. I'm Sara Mezani, EPSA Publications Coordinator, and this episode is announcing to be as catchy as an influenza virus. Today, we're discussing the topic of vaccination, particularly flu vaccination, and our first guest of the day is Sibilia Quilic, Executive Director at Vaccines Europe. Sibilia, first of all, thank you for accepting our invitation. If you could please start by briefly introducing yourself and your association to our listeners.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much for the invitation. So as you mentioned, I'm Sibilia Quilic. I'm the Executive Director of Vaccines Europe. Vaccines Europe is a specialized vaccines group within the European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industry and Associations, EFPIA. And we represent vaccines companies of all sizes that are operating in Europe. And currently our membership includes all the major global, innovative and research-based vaccines companies, small and medium-sized enterprises as well. And we are based in Brussels for over 30 years now and provide a cohesive, united and strong voice for the vaccine industry in Europe.
Thank you. I believe it is now clear for all of us why the topic of flu vaccination is so close to your heart. Going forward, I would like to invite you to play a little game for our listeners to better understand today's topic. So this is how it's going to work. I will read to you a list of statements, and you will respond by telling us whether they are facts or myths. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Then let's get straight to it. The first statement on our list is a flu vaccine gives you flu.
That's a myth. In fact, a flu vaccine cannot actually cause flu illness. Flu vaccines that are given with a needle are currently made in two ways. The vaccine is made either with the flu viruses that has been killed, and we say also inactivated, and therefore cannot be infectious. Or they are made with proteins that have been weakened, or we say also attenuated from a live flu viruses. And here again, it cannot cause the flu illness. You may actually experience a reaction to the vaccination, but this reaction will not be influenza. It will be a lot milder actually than influenza symptoms. And even if you have been vaccinated, it is possible to get influenza. But this is because the year's vaccine is designed to protect against the season's expected types of influenza, but not against every type of influenza. So you may get flu even if you have been vaccinated, just because the flu vaccines cannot cover all the circulated strains potentially.
Thank you for these explanations. I believe they have been very clarifying. The next point on our list is we need a flu vaccine every year.
And that's a fact. Indeed, needed every year for two reasons. The first one is that a person's immune protection from vaccination declines over time. So an annual flu vaccine is needed for optimal protection. The second reason is because flu viruses are constantly changing. The composition of flu vaccine is reviewed annually, and vaccines are updated to protect against the viruses that research indicates will be most common during the upcoming flu season. So for the best protection, older and at-risk population should get vaccinated annually.
Thank you for this mention as well. Our next point is, it is better to get sick with flu than to get a flu vaccine.
That's a myth. The flu vaccines give the best protections against flu. Flu vaccines help protect against the main types of flu viruses, although, as I mentioned, there is still a chance you may get flu. But if you do get flu after vaccination, it's likely to be milder, or it won't last as long as a normal flu. Having the flu vaccines will also stop you from spreading flu to other people who may be more at risk of serious problems from flu, such as elderly, pregnant women, or individuals with comorbidities, whether it is diabetes or other severe comorbidities. It can take 10 to 14 days for the flu vaccines to work, so it's important to keep that in mind.
Thank you. And I think you have a little bit anticipated our next statement as well. It says that pregnant women or people with pre-existing medical conditions need to get a flu vaccine. Is that mostly because they would be more sensitive to the virus or because they would develop more severe conditions?
It all depends who you are, indeed. But if I just take the first one, you mentioned pregnant women, for instance. Yes, indeed, the pregnant women should actually have the flu vaccines to help protect themselves, but also their baby. It is safe to have the flu vaccines at any stage of pregnancy. At-risk individuals with underlying condition, as I mentioned, at-risk population, influenza can cause severe disease and death, especially in people over 65, young children, but also people with those long-term conditions. Every year, people in these at-risk groups die from influenza. Worldwide, we have up to 650,000 people who die of respiratory diseases linked to the influenza seasons each year. And up to 70,000 of these deaths are happening in the WHO European region. So yes, influenza is a severe disease for people that have a weakened immune system due to an underlying conditions or potentially to an immune disorder as well.
That's a very worrying statistics. Moving on to our next statement. Flu vaccination increases your risk of getting COVID-19.
That's a myth, a complete myth. Influenza and COVID-19 viruses share actually similar symptoms, including cough, running nose, sore throat, fever, headaches, and fatigue. But people have varying levels of illnesses with both COVID-19 and influenza. Some may have no symptoms, mild symptoms, or severe symptoms. Both influenza and COVID-19 can be fatal. The most effective way to protect yourself from both influenza and severe COVID-19 is to get vaccinated with both influenza and COVID-19 vaccines.
Right. And also before the COVID-19 vaccines were released to the market, there were some professionals that were recommending getting vaccinated against the flu to maybe offer you some increased protection, because by the time we didn't have a targeted vaccine. What were your thoughts on that at the moment?
Whether it is influenza or COVID-19, both infectious diseases need to be prevented with vaccination. So in the absence of COVID-19 vaccines, it is in any case important to have influenza vaccination because flu is actually an annual disease and circulates. So in order to avoid having misdiagnosis, because the symptoms are the same, in any case, it's important that thanks to flu vaccination, you may reduce your risk to catch any respiratory disease and be symptomatic in the way you would be with COVID-19. It reduces as well the burden to the healthcare system. It's really important to take this into consideration. It is part of our duty as well to avoid unnecessary diseases that will impact the burden on the healthcare system as well, and make sure that you don't get sick and mix with those people that have COVID-19 and may actually infect you in return with COVID-19. So both, when you have a vaccine that is available, that is effective, and that can prevent you from being in contact with contaminated people with COVID-19, this is important to take care.
Indeed, and I think we can all agree that we are recommending to anyone listening to this podcast to get vaccinated against COVID-19 and also against the flu. Just a practical question. Seeing as most of us listening to this podcast, or at least so I hope, are already vaccinated against COVID-19. Is there a waiting period between getting our COVID-19 vaccine and our flu vaccine, or is it safe to get them close together?
There is little evidence, honestly, with concomitant use of COVID-19 and influenza vaccines. What is seen in the past is that concomitant vaccination with influenza is safe. So influenza vaccines is actually concomitantly used with other types of vaccines, such as pneumococcal vaccination or others. So the scientists are quite reassuring with the safety side of concomitant use. Nevertheless, I mean, it's absolutely fine to wait a few weeks between the vaccination, receiving the influenza vaccination potentially first, followed by the COVID-19. I do believe that today, notably in Europe, most of the population have received indeed their COVID-19 vaccine. I mean, if they had their full course, there is no urgency to get a third dose, but the urgency is to get influenza vaccination because we are entering in the influenza season. And the influenza campaign, vaccination campaign, should start now, I believe. So it's important that this becomes a priority to ensure that we are prevented from influenza for this season, although we already received our protection against COVID-19.
Thank you. And with this, I think we have finalized our list of statements. However, regarding your last answer, I have one more question for you. You mentioned that the vaccination campaign against the flu should start about now. And I was just wondering, what role can the EU play, in your opinion, in promoting the uptake of flu vaccination?
This is a really good question and a very important one. Although vaccination policy is a competence of national authorities, the European Union institutions and agencies can play a significant role in assisting the European countries in coordinating their policies and programs. In 2018, the Council adopted a recommendation to strengthen the EU cooperation on vaccines preventable diseases. These initiatives aim to tackle vaccine hesitancy, improve coordination on vaccines procurement, support research and innovation, and strengthen the EU cooperation on vaccines preventable diseases. Increased communication activities and awareness raising on the benefit of vaccination were highlighted as a critical aspect within this recommendation. Healthcare workers, but also medical students, can play a significant role as well in that respect. So it's not only about member states, it's really about every stakeholder engagement to support vaccination, but a coordinated approach as well to ensure that the message is common to everybody and we have with one voice the right messages to the EU citizens to ensure adherence to vaccination programs.
Thank you so much, Sibylia. I fully agree. I believe this concludes our interview. As always, it has been a pleasure chatting with you.
Keep safe.
Continuing with the next part of our podcast, I would like to welcome our second guest of the day, Jan Dubeli, Professional Affairs Advisor at PGU. Jan, firstly, thank you for joining us today. If you could also start by introducing yourself and your association, that would be great.
Yes, hello, and thank you very much for the kind invitation. So I said my name is Jan Dubeli. I work as a professional affairs advisor for PGU, which in full reads Pharmaceutical Group of the European Union. And PGU is a European organization representing community pharmacists across 32 European countries. I am also a pharmacist by training, and I still work in a community pharmacy from time to time, try to connect as much as possible still to the daily practice, which is of course very important in my daily function.
Thank you. I'm very happy to have different perspectives on this podcast, especially as the topic of flu vaccination is such an important one. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think your podcast also comes at a very interesting time. There's a lot to do about the upcoming influenza season, especially since last year we have seen very little flu due to including the COVID-19 hygiene and physical distancing measures, also through a good vaccination coverage. And this year, experts warn the opposite, or experts warn that the upcoming influenza season could also, because of, for instance, a lower natural immunity, be much more severe than last year and even maybe than the years before.
Thank you. So naturally, I have a few questions for you. The first one would be, how has the implication of community pharmacists in vaccination evolved in the past years? And here we would also be interested on recently regarding the COVID-19 crisis, maybe vaccination against COVID-19 in pharmacies. That is something we all heard about.
Sure. So community pharmacists, they have always played generally an important role in flu vaccination, as they are highly trained healthcare professionals and a trusted source of information, being very accessible in local communities. First of all, they have, of course, to play a key role in identifying patients in at-risk groups, such as, for instance, for flu vaccination, which would be elderly, patients with chronic diseases, immunocompromised people, and so on. And they also have this important task of helping to increase public confidence in vaccination, mainly today, where also the COVID-19 outbreak gave the opportunity to community pharmacists to play a vital role in explaining the fundamental importance of vaccination to the population. And so beside also those roles in identifying, advising, providing information, community pharmacies in many countries are, of course, also a main source of access to vaccination. In some countries, that is due to the delivery of vaccines to the public. The main trend that we have seen in terms of the evolving role of community pharmacists in vaccination has been that in recent years, in many European countries, community pharmacists have been enabled to administer vaccines in pharmacies to people. To give you an idea about this trend, in 2015, only 4 European countries allowed pharmacists to administer flu vaccines to citizens in pharmacies. And these were the United Kingdom, Portugal, Ireland, and Switzerland. Today, there is a total of 10 European countries which allow community pharmacists to administer vaccines. For 8 European countries, this includes the administration of flu vaccines. But in 2 other countries, so also recently in Italy and Poland, community pharmacists have there been enabled in the COVID-19 crisis to administer COVID-19 vaccines. And this might, in those countries, also open up opportunities to administer other types of vaccines to the population.
That is amazing. And hopefully we're looking at the future where vaccination is going to generally be available in pharmacies. However, we can't help but wonder regarding your last answer, how has the increased participation of pharmacists in vaccination been received by governments and by the population?
That's a very important question because, of course, the introduction of pharmacist-delivered services only makes sense if they indeed bring a meaningful impact to patients and to, of course, the healthcare systems. There are some data that we can share that have been collected through our members. So a first piece of information I can share is from Ireland, where survey results show that the provision via Irish community pharmacies increases coverage for people who had never received a vaccination before. And they have been able to demonstrate that 1 in 6 people who had received the vaccine in the pharmacy had never received the vaccine before from another healthcare service, with 99% of patients indicating that they would return to the pharmacy for their next vaccination. And if they then also surveyed the satisfaction of patients with this service, it showed that patient satisfaction with pharmacist-delivered vaccination in Ireland is very positive, with 93% of patients rating the service either 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Moreover, other interesting information from Ireland is that they've seen that when pharmacists started to vaccinate in 2011, also the number of flu vaccines administered by other healthcare professionals, such as general practitioners, has increased since that time. And this shows that pharmacist-delivered vaccination is a complementary service to services of other healthcare professionals that are established already in some countries. It's really this accessible role of the pharmacy in local communities in which they can help to reach people that have never been vaccinated before and also increase access and convenience overall, which is of course a very positive thing, as we know that those two are exactly often well-reported barriers for flu vaccination. Other interesting data from national level comes from France. In France, community pharmacists have been enabled in general terms to administer flu vaccines since 2019. And data from the last flu season, so meaning mid-October 2020 to the beginning of January 2021, shows that community pharmacists vaccinated more than 3.7 million people in pharmacies against the flu. In this short term, it does already show that 1 flu vaccination out of 3 was now performed by community pharmacists, which shows not only that community pharmacists are able to generate high satisfaction and reach people who were never vaccinated before, but that also overall pharmacist-delivered vaccination can play a very crucial part of national immunization programs, for instance, for flu. But as I said, in many countries, pharmacists also administer vaccines, such as, for instance, travel health vaccinations against pneumococcal, recently COVID-19, etc.
Those are amazing statistics, and I think this is maybe one of the greatest things about being part of the European Union, that we can take each other as an example and constantly strive for better, especially when the results shown are so good. My next question to you is regarding a statement release that I understand that you have in progress. And my question would be, why is it important to release a statement on flu vaccination now? And what impact are you expecting considering the past year's events?
Yes, so in the beginning of September, we as PGU have issued a statement warning about indeed the approaching influenza season, which, combined with the persistence of COVID-19 across Europe, it will offer another significant challenges for health systems across Europe. We're issuing this statement because we also have seen several expert groups warning about indeed the impact of this year's flu season, which could be more severe than usual. As I explained, mainly due to, for instance, the lower natural immunity of people as a consequence of the low circulation of the flu virus last year. But also, it is expected that the flu virus circulation will return to pre-pandemic levels with the increasing relaxation of COVID-19 mitigation measures. Lastly, we also see that there is a risk of lower flu vaccination uptake, potentially, and these are just, of course, reports that warn for this phenomenon, due to increased complacency resulting from the extremely low levels of flu circulation last year. So based on these reports and also the information that we receive from individual community pharmacists, we think it's very urgent to put in place effective vaccination campaigns that can help preventing hospitalizations, ensuring adequate access and uptake of flu vaccines, especially for at-risk groups. Because we cannot, with also COVID-19 in our mind, we cannot be cautious enough about the potential impact that flu might have on patients and on health systems overall. I can already share from my personal experience as a pharmacist that in past weeks, we have seen a very high circulation of, for instance, common cold viruses, which is again probably due to those factors which I already mentioned, the lower natural immunity and increased flu virus circulation. It's therefore really urgent that we as healthcare professionals, so not only community pharmacists, but of course also our allied healthcare professionals in which we closely work on flu vaccination, is that we all form a united front first of all, by vaccinating ourselves against the flu, but also to be aware of, for instance, potentially reduced uptake of vaccination and other protection measures, because as I highlighted, vaccination is a key protective measures, but also, for instance, hygiene measures and keeping physical distance in, for instance, very crowded places remain to be very effective and important measures against the flu virus.
Yes, indeed. Having been a community pharmacy intern myself up until recently, I can only endorse your statement. Thank you very much, Ian. This has been a pleasure.
Yes, the pleasure was mine as well. And thank you very much once again for the kind invitation. But I especially want to thank you and EPSA for taking this very important initiative, again, which reinforces your important role as a pharmacy student association on vaccination. And also would like to use this opportunity actually to thank all the pharmacy students which also helped out with community pharmacies across Europe in various ways during the COVID-19 pandemic, which also, by the way, in some countries included helping out with the administration of COVID-19 vaccines. So I think it cannot be stressed enough how important your role is already today in, for instance, raising awareness, but of course, how important your role will be as future healthcare professionals and bringing also a fresh and dynamic view to healthcare practice, which is very much welcomed, I think, by all, let's say, practicing healthcare professionals across Europe. So thank you very much as well for that.
Thank you once again. And since you have mentioned the positive impact pharmacy students have made, I would propose we also move on to a student perspective. Our next guests are Mariana Gajda and Joanna Oberska from PPSA Poland. First of all, girls, thank you very much for joining this podcast. I understand you have been working on a campaign regarding vaccination, and my questions to you would be how is the pharmaceutical students' training for vaccination in your opinion, and how do you believe we can improve vaccination in the curricula?
Vaccines It Doesn't Hurt is a students' initiative that originates in Warsaw, Poland, and was firstly done in 2018 in Warsaw high schools, and it quickly grew to become a national public health campaign that was conducted in 11 major cities in Poland.
So our main focus of the classes is importance and safety of vaccines. So we really wanted to focus on raising awareness of adolescents in Poland regarding what vaccines are and are not, how they are manufactured. We wanted to bust some myths around vaccinations and wanted to, most importantly, talk with high school students about anti-vaxxers and who they are, why they might think the way they do, and how to approach conversations with them. So how to maybe talk with their parents or aunts or uncles who might be apprehensive when it comes to vaccines, how to have that conversation with them, and how to make informed decisions for themselves in the future.
Because of this, one of the main focuses during preparing the materials for the action, for the campaign, was what are the psychological biases behind the vaccines movements, and why do people have concerns that they do, and what were the first what were the first issues and where they originate.
And actually, one of the reasons that was very that spoke volumes to us when we first started talking and discussing the project was that there were studies done on students of Warsaw Medical University saying that most of the students who graduate do not change their opinions on vaccinations.
And this is the main reason why we decided to start very early and to talk with adolescents from high schools. We decided that this is the best age to have open discussion, very informed discussion, but with the people who weren't influenced that much
by the media or the internet, basically.
Well, as Asha mentioned, it is definitely not well designed if there is such an educational gap. In our pharmaceutical studies, we had only one classes about vaccines, and it wasn't even a separate subject. That was the part of microbiology classes. And we strongly believe that 2 hours is really not enough to discuss the safety of vaccines, how they are manufactured, what are the new studies about vaccines. The only thing that were covered during our classes were what vaccines are and what types of vaccines are used in Poland right now.
And also a huge missing puzzle of classes on vaccines and vaccinations is communication and having conversation around them. And we're hoping that due to the fact that there were multiple hundreds of pharmaceutical students in Poland that were involved in the project, that it somehow increased their knowledge on vaccines, and also they had a possibility to gain the skills to have those conversations with people around them.
The best scenario would be if we would have a separate subject during our studies that would be completely dedicated to vaccines and their safety, efficiency, but also what are the new technologies in vaccination, because this is the topic that is really not covered.
Thank you very much. I would just like to mention that I also fully support your campaign. I believe these conversations are very important, and I applaud you for taking initiative. And I believe this concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you want to keep up with the most recent news from the EPSA universe, make sure to subscribe to this channel, follow us on the social media networks listed below, and last but not least, subscribe to the monthly dose. Have a great day, and don't forget to get your flu shot.